Hello and welcome to Saskatchewan. My name is Michaela and I'm happy to give you an introduction to our beautiful prairie province with a name that is so hard to pronounce, but some very good reasons to send your clients here. More than 50% of all UK customers travel to Canada at least a second time, and they like to explore new routes. So why not Saskatchewan? With more than 2,500 hours of sunshine per year, it's also one of the sunniest provinces in all of Canada. I heard you've just flown to Canada with Air Canada, and that's how to get here. Most clients fly to either Calgary or Edmonton and then drive to Saskatchewan. But if your clients want to fly to Saskatchewan directly, they will have to connect through either Toronto or Montreal, and then they can fly to Saskatoon or Regina. Saskatchewan is located right here in the heart of Canada, and our neighbors are Alberta and Manitoba. The biggest prejudice about Saskatchewan is that it's boring and it's flat. While I have to admit, yes, this is a Saskatchewan image, and we do have a lot of wheat fields because Saskatchewan is a major wheat producer. But if you think of the size, it's about 2.5 times the size of the UK, and only one third of the province is covered by prairie landscape, which is already more than those wheat fields that you see in the picture. Two-thirds of the province are covered by wilderness, by forests, by Canadian Shield, and more than 100,000 lakes and waterways. All in all, Saskatchewan consists of over 250,000 kilometers of roads. It's the highest length of road surface compared to any other Canadian province. It's truly a road tripper's paradise. But you need to get off the Trans Canada Highway because that's also where that prejudice comes from. I believe we just had the smartest road constructors of all times to just build the highway through those wheat fields. The Trans Canada Highway is the main road leading through the province, and you have to make your way on one of those other roads and ride into our beautiful nature parks of the region. Only then you can discover the beauty of Saskatchewan and a sky that never ends. So, why Saskatchewan? It's a province with breathtaking nature, deserted areas, and encounters of a very special kind. Here we find some landscapes that no one expects in the middle of the prairie, such as the largest sand dunes in North America that you see here on the right. Saskatchewan has a very unique spirit that comes to life in its cities, communities, and the countryside. Whether in the cities or the nature parks, life takes place outdoors here. Whether Mounties, ranch vacations, or encounters with First Nations, whether fishing pleasure, canoe tour, or wild rafting, there is a lot to discover in Saskatchewan, and you will meet some of the friendliest humans on earth. Are you ready to go on a little trip around Saskatchewan with me? Let's start. We imagine we have flown to Canada with Air Canada and have picked up our rental car or motorhome in Calgary, perhaps spent a few days in southern Alberta, and are now crossing the border into Saskatchewan. The driving time from Calgary is just 4.5 hours. Our first stop is Cypress Hills Interprovincial Park. This park is shared by Alberta and Saskatchewan, and here the wide open prairie meets majestic pine forests. The Cypress Hills tower proudly at nearly 1,500 meters. They are the highest land elevation between the Rocky Mountains and Labrador. The diverse landscape here is characterized by pine forests, idyllic lakes, and gentle river courses, and especially protected in the Cypress Hills Interprovincial Park. On this high plateau on the Alberta border, the two-tiered park rises from the prairie over an area of more than 400 square kilometers. We find a mix of forest, wetlands, and grasslands, which is an ideal place for wildlife viewing and outdoor adventures of all kinds. Horses and ranchers have always played an important role in the development of Western Canada and the establishment of the province of Saskatchewan, and we are really, really proud of our ranches. Tucked away in a scenic valley on the north slope of the Cypress Hills is historic Reeser Ranch. The ranch has been owned and operated by the Reeser family since 1904 and is now in its fifth generation. We see Papa Scott here in the image. He calls himself a cowboy poet and is a proud owner of the ranch now. This cattle ranch is a true working ranch where guests experience authentic ranch life with super friendly family connections. You can stay overnight or just enjoy the experiences offered on site. Not all of them are riding, by the way. They have a great self guided hike, for example, that gets your client to learn about the region. It's an ideal ranch if your clients don't know if they want to ride, because all horseback riding activities would be booked on site, but they can still experience the ranching lifestyle without having to get on a horse. However, their sunset supper ride is ideal for customers who want to get on a horse for 2 hours to enjoy some cowboy feeling. Riding skills are not required. They will be served dinner in true Western style, barbecued steak or hamburger, baked potato or granny's brown beans, and then they can listen to the stories of Papa Scott. And afterwards, the horses will be saddled. Afterwards, they ride comfortably through the scenic landscape into the sunset, and they will feel like Lucky Luke himself. Now we drive to Val Marie. Val Marie is the starting point for tours into Grasslands National Park. Here you will also find a visitor center. So, welcome to our first national park, Grasslands. It's protecting one of Canada's few remaining areas of undisturbed dry mixed grass and short grass prairie grasslands. For me personally, it's one of the most underrated parks in all of Canada and a definite must see. It belongs on every bucket list. This park boasts wide open plains that dance with the wind, and it's home to a large bison herd. Besides the quintessential backpacking, birding, camping, hiking, or horseback riding, Grasslands is also known for its geology and history. I've brought you a short video so we can all see what it looks like.
When the landscape is at its gentlest, it's green, it's soft and pretty. You're seeing all the different wildflowers growing. You just really appreciate it. Whether you're catching an amazing sunrise or an amazing sunset, that's where you see all the textures of the landscape. The light just brings that completely to life.
The topography ranges so much. So if you're in the Badlands, or if you're on a high plateau on the top of the Continental Divide, or if you're in a river valley, you're going to see different things, different animals, different plants. Every one of those places has their own perfect spot.
When you can go out into the prairie and see teepee rings that are 5,000 years old, to think that this is what the First Nations were seeing then and we're still seeing it today. I think this is one of the nicest places in Canada.
Yes, I fully agree. This is one of the nicest places in all of Canada, and at night it's just as magical. The sky lights up underneath thousands of dazzling stars of the darkest dark sky preserve in Canada. Here you can see one of the possible accommodations, Authentics by Parks Canada, glamping at its best. In the park itself, you will only find the Authentics and the campground. There is no other accommodation in the park to protect the dark sky, but your clients could overnight in Val Marie outside of the park. The next stop on our little round trip takes us to the rolling prairies to Lake Diefenbaker. Here is Lariata Ranch. It's set in the Saskatchewan River Valley with rolling grassy hills and canyons, the occasional coyote just stealing by, and Lariata Ranch really does look like it's right out of a Wild West movie. City slickers are welcomed here and brought right into action. On this ranch, your client should at least be willing to try horseback riding. I've been here 3 times with my kids. The first time my youngest was 7. He's never ridden before. I don't ride at home, but we all had a blast. Lariata is an authentic family-run working cattle ranch. Guests share hearty home-cooked suppers with the crew and sleep in rustic cabins. The days are filled with riding, roping, driving, and checking up on the cows, lunches in the rolling hills, and sunset rides. It's all very hands on. Real cowboys teach you how to groom and sell your horse before you head out into the open fields. The evenings are for playing horseshoes, roasting marshmallows over the fire, or a relaxing time in the saloon. Now we drive to the capital of the province, to Regina. And Regina is a true queen among Canada's cities, and not just because of its royal name. With a population of around 230,000, it cannot compete in sizes with metropolises like Vancouver or Toronto, but that's exactly what makes this charming little town so appealing. If you pay Regina a visit, you can look forward to its friendly inhabitants and a wealth of sights and attractions. Regina is a very green city. You see Wascana Park here in the picture. It's larger than Central Park in New York and Stanley Park in Vancouver combined. However, most visitors come to see Canada's Mounties, famous worldwide for the traditional red parade uniform. In Regina is the country's only basic training center for the next generation of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP. All young cadets complete their basic training here. And the RCMP Heritage Center is right next door, and it's a museum that's showing vividly and interactively everything about the Mounties since 1873. It's also great for families. Now we continue north. 260 kilometers north of Regina lies Saskatoon. Saskatoon is also called the City of Bridges or the Paris of the Prairies. But no matter which name you choose, Saskatoon belongs at the top of every travel bucket list and at any time of the year. Its idyllic location on the South Saskatchewan River, its wonderful culinary surprises, and its first class sights are reason enough to pay a visit to this beautiful city. About 300,000 people call the metropolitan region home. You can soak up the magic of Saskatoon by taking a stroll along the beautiful waterfront of the South Saskatchewan River or through the streets of Broadway and Riversdale, which are full of historic charm and reveal a wide variety of specialty stores and culinary flavors. Art enthusiasts will get their money's worth at the Ramey Modern Art Gallery of Saskatchewan. Standing in a prominent location on the riverbank, it's considered the most innovative contemporary art museum in all of North America. In the evening, you can take an excursion on the riverboat Prairie Lily for a unique view of Saskatoon's scenic skyline. The city is considered to be the most beautiful city in the prairies. Right outside of Saskatoon, on the northern edge, is Wanuskewin Heritage Park, a National Historic Site and a proposed UNESCO World Heritage Site. This land has been a gathering place for all nations of the Northern Plains to meet for trade, hunting, and ceremonies, and thus interprets over 6,400 years of Northern Plains Indigenous culture. It's also the longest running archaeological dig site in Canada, and it features 19 pre-contact sites, a medicine wheel, teepee rings, and buffalo jumps located along 7 kilometers of walking trail. The site is now again home to a herd of plains bisons that are descendants from the last 1,000 bison that remained on the Great Plains by the year 1870. Wanuskewin features an interpretive center and gallery spaces, a restaurant offering amazing First Nations cuisine, and an impressive interpretive program included guided hikes and traditional dance performances. They have just won the Indigenous Tourism Destination of the Year award, which is the great news that I have for you. And we're hoping to be selected as a UNESCO World Heritage status in 2025. It was also recently featured in the National Geographic Traveler magazine, and they were also nominated for the Culinary Experience of the Year. Another 200 kilometers north and pretty much in the middle of the province is Prince Albert National Park. Prince Albert National Park is completely different from our other national park. It's a nearly 4,000 square kilometer big natural gem that's also called the gateway to Saskatchewan's wild and forested north. If you remember, Grasslands was only about 400 square kilometers, so it's 10 times the size of Grasslands National Park. Prince Albert is the southern tip of Canada's largest area of boreal forest, and here we find a mosaic of forests, tundra moss, lakes, and even beautiful sandy beaches that make up the boreal pine forest and are hard to beat for beauty. The park is one of the most popular recreational areas in the province, and that year-round. We have more than 150 kilometers of hiking trails, so everyone should find a suitable route and be able to hike at their own pace. There are 19 trails of different lengths and for different fitness levels, from leisurely strolls to day hikes or even multi-day backcountry trips are possible. All trails, including the Boundary Bog Trail, the Red Deer Trail, or the Waskesiu River Trail, offer breathtaking views, excellent wildlife viewing opportunities, abundant nature, and the other surprise. We have over 50 kilometers of canoe routes. Most of them are linked to each other. Again, a perfect place to discover the wilderness Tours can be taken for a few hours, a day, or multi days. If you remember, I've told you about over 100,000 lakes or waterways in Saskatchewan only. So if you were to fish or paddle a different lake or river every day, it would take you 254 years to complete. So good luck. We have beautiful sandy beaches here. We are one of the sunniest provinces in all of Canada, and people love to explore the lakes, whether stand up paddling or just by renting a boat. They do water ski or wakeboarding. So, again, there is something for everyone here, even for the whole family. There's excellent wildlife viewing opportunities here in the park. There's a bison herd, and basically everything you would love to see in Canada also lives here in the park. After a day full of outdoor adventures, you can look forward to some civilization and comfort in Waskesiu. I always refer to Waskesiu as Banff about 20 years ago. You can just stroll through the little stores, buy souvenirs or fashion, and then have dinner in one of the local restaurants. So that's our trip, and I hope you enjoyed the little intro to Saskatchewan and the trip around Saskatchewan with me, and you learned something new about the Prairie Province. I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Here are also my contact details in case you want to send me an email after. We have a website, and of course, we have a lot of assets like images or videos for you if you like.